Hello and welcome to this lesson. Now that we know why a company might choose SAP S/4HANA Cloud, let's talk about what's inside it. Think of SAP S/4HANA Cloud as a powerful toolbox with different compartments, each designed to handle a key part of running a business. In SAP terminology, these compartments are often called modules or functional areas. Have you ever wondered how Apple manages so many aspects of its business in one integrated system? For example, how do they keep track of millions of iPhones moving through production, manage all the orders from the Apple online store, pay their suppliers for components, and report their finances to shareholders all seamlessly? The answer lies in the various modules of SAP S/4HANA working together like pieces of a puzzle. In this lesson, we'll open up that toolbox and explore the core modules of SAP S/4HANA Cloud one by one. We'll use Apple Inc. as a running example, imagining how each module would support something in Apple's world, be it AirPods production, iPhone sales, or managing Apple's retail stores. By the end of this lesson, you'll have a clear picture of the major modules: finance, procurement, manufacturing, sales, and more, and understand how these pieces come together to form the digital backbone of a company. Ready to dive into the heart of S/4HANA Cloud? Let's get started. SAP S/4HANA Cloud is designed to cover end-to-end business processes. This means it's not just one monolithic program, but a suite of integrated modules, each focusing on a specific business function. The beauty is that all these modules share information with each other in real time on the SAP HANA database, ensuring that when something happens in one area, say a sale, other relevant areas like finance and inventory are immediately updated. Let's go through the core modules and relate them to Apple's context for better understanding. The finance module, often referred to together with controlling as FICO, is the accounting and financial management powerhouse of SAP. Finance, or FI, handles things like the general ledger, all of Apple's financial accounts, accounts payable, money Apple owes others, for example, payments to a chip supplier, accounts receivable, money others owe Apple, for example, a telecom carrier buying iPhones wholesale, asset accounting, tracking assets like Apple's machines and facilities, and financial reporting. Controlling, or CO, is about internal cost management, budgeting, cost centers, profitability analysis by product, and so on. Imagine Apple launching the new iPhone. The finance module will record every sale of the iPhone in the revenue accounts, handle the invoices to distributors, and track expenses like marketing costs for the launch. When Apple buys components like OLED displays for iPhones, accounts payable in FI ensures the supplier, say Samsung Display, gets paid on time and that expense is recorded. At quarter end, Apple's finance team uses SAP to consolidate the numbers from all countries and produce financial statements. Controlling helps Apple see the profitability of each product line. Are AirPods margins improving? How much did it cost to produce an iPhone 15 versus what is the revenue? With S/4HANA Cloud Finance, Apple's CFO can drill down in real time to a very granular level of detail if needed. Also, consider Apple's immense cash reserves. The treasury functions within finance help manage cash, investments, and risks, like foreign currency exchange rates when Apple earns in many currencies. In short, the finance module is like the brain that keeps track of every dollar or euro, yen, and so on in and out, ensuring Apple's books are balanced and providing insight into financial health. Sourcing and procurement module covers purchasing of materials and services, everything from requisitioning a part, sending purchase orders to vendors, receiving goods, and processing supplier invoices. It's often called Materials Management in SAP, encompassing procurement and inventory management. In S/4HANA Cloud, procurement processes are streamlined with best practices. It also can integrate with external procurement networks like SAP Ariba for supplier collaboration. Think of all the components Apple needs for an iPhone: chips, cameras, glass, aluminum casings, packaging, even services like shipping. The procurement module helps Apple's supply chain teams manage these. For instance, Apple's procurement officer in charge of AirPods might use SAP to automatically reorder a new batch of wireless chips when inventory at the assembly plant is running low. The system can handle purchase orders to Apple's suppliers like Foxconn, which assembles devices, or smaller component manufacturers. It tracks when the shipment is due and updates inventory once goods arrive at Apple's or a manufacturer's warehouse. This ties into inventory management. If Apple has negotiated contracts with a supplier, say a yearly contract for 1 million units of a camera module at a certain price, those terms can be stored and respected by the system. When the supplier sends an invoice for a delivered batch, SAP matches it against the purchase order and goods receipt, a process called three-way match, to ensure Apple only pays for what was received and at the agreed price. Essentially, the procurement module ensures Apple can buy what it needs from the right supplier at the right time and cost, and keeps track of stock levels. It also helps with supplier evaluation, approving new vendors, and making sure the purchasing process is efficient and compliant. For a company as large as Apple, automation here is key. There are thousands of purchase transactions, and SAP S/4HANA Cloud helps minimize manual work. For example, by automating approval workflows for purchase orders or suggesting optimal order quantities based on usage. The manufacturing module, also known as Production Planning, PP and Control, deals with planning and executing the production of goods. It includes production planning, deciding what to make, when and where, managing production orders, scheduling and ensuring the needed materials and resources, machines, labor are available. It can cover different manufacturing processes: discrete manufacturing for gadgets, process manufacturing for chemicals, and so on, and integrate quality management to ensure products meet specs. Let's focus on AirPods production. AirPods might be made in large factories in Asia. Using SAP S/4HANA Cloud's manufacturing module, Apple and its manufacturing partners can plan out production. For example, suppose Apple forecasts high demand for AirPods due to the holiday season. The production planning functionality can create a master production schedule that says for each week how many AirPods should be produced at each factory. SAP will check what components are needed: batteries, casings, speakers, and so on, and ensure procurement orders are in place. Here we see integration with procurement. If the plan calls for 1 million AirPods, the system knows to have sufficient parts via Once planning is done, production orders are created in the system. These are like work orders instructing a factory line to assemble, say, 10,000 AirPods in a batch. As the factory workers complete the assembly, they can record it in SAP, sometimes automated via scanning barcodes or IoT sensors. The inventory of finished AirPods is then updated in the system, again integrating with inventory management, and the production order is marked complete. Quality checks can be built in too. SAP can require a quality inspection lot for each batch, maybe randomly testing 100 AirPods from the batch for sound quality and connectivity. If any fail, SAP can trigger a notification to investigate or even hold that batch. The manufacturing module helps Apple manage capacity as well, making sure they don't schedule more production in a week than the factory can handle. Machines and worker availability are taken into account. By using SAP, Apple can also simulate scenarios like, what if we add an extra shift? Can we produce 20% more this quarter? The system's planning algorithms can help answer that. Ultimately, the manufacturing module ensures that Apple can build its products efficiently, meet release dates. Imagine the coordination needed to have millions of iPhones ready for a simultaneous worldwide launch, and keep production costs in check by optimizing resource usage. Supply chain and logistics modules cover the flow of materials and products through the business, from raw materials to delivering finished goods. This includes inventory management, warehouse management, managing stock in warehouses, and transportation management, shipping products. In S/4HANA Cloud, core supply chain functions are integrated. For advanced needs, SAP has add-ons or integrated products like extended warehouse management or transportation management. But at a core level, S/4HANA manages stock levels, movements, and ensures the right product is in the right place at the right time. Consider Apple's global distribution of iPhones. After manufacturing, iPhones need to be shipped to regional warehouses, then to local Apple stores, or directly to online customers. SAP's supply chain modules help track inventory at every stage. How many iPhones of each model are in the China factory, on a ship en route to the US, in the California distribution center, and on the shelf of the Fifth Avenue, New York Apple store. If an Apple store sells out of a particular iPhone model, the system knows and might trigger a replenishment from the nearest warehouse. Warehouse management functionality would guide warehouse staff on where a product is stored and the best way to pick it for an order. For example, if Apple's warehouse in Toronto gets an order to send 100 MacBooks to various stores, SAP can optimize the picking route to save time. Transportation features can optimize shipping. For instance, combining shipments of iPads and MacBooks to the same region to fill a truck, or selecting the fastest versus cheapest delivery option depending on urgency. Now, supply chain planning also involves forecasting and ensuring supply meets demand. While SAP S/4HANA has basic planning, sometimes companies use a dedicated tool like SAP IBP, Integrated Business Planning, that works with S/4HANA. But even within S4, Apple's planners can run MRP, Material Requirements Planning, to ensure that if, say, 500,000 iPhones need to be produced next month, the supply chain is ready with necessary materials and distribution capacity. In essence, the supply chain and logistics modules help Apple orchestrate the journey of every component and finished product so that a customer can walk into a store and find the iPhone model they want or get their online order delivered on time. It minimizes shortages and excess stock by giving clear visibility and control over the flow of goods. The sales module handles all processes of selling and distributing products or services to customers. This includes managing customer orders, pricing, shipping, billing, and tracking the status of deliveries. Often called Sales and Distribution SD. It ensures the revenue generating activities are smooth and integrated with inventory and finance. Think about buying an iPhone from apple.com. You place an order. This triggers the sales order process in SAP. The sales module checks if the iPhone model you want is available in stock, integrating closely with inventory. It applies pricing, including any discounts, maybe a promotional code you had, and taxes based on your location. Once confirmed, the order moves to delivery. A delivery document is created instructing the warehouse to pick and pack that iPhone for shipment to you. SAP can interface with carriers like FedEx or UPS to create shipping labels and track the package. When the iPhone ships, the system posts a goods issue, meaning inventory goes down, and generates an invoice to bill you or charge your credit card. The finance module records the revenue and expects the payment, or if you paid immediately, it records the payment right away. Now multiply this by millions of customers and add other channels. Apple also sells wholesale to telecom carriers, and in physical Apple stores, they use a point of sale system that likely connects back to SAP for inventory and financial postings. The sales module has to handle complex pricing rules, for example, volume discounts for large orders or region specific pricing. It also deals with returns and refunds. If you return an Apple Watch within the return window, SAP processes a return order, updates inventory. The watch goes back into stock if in good condition and triggers a refund. Another aspect is contracts and subscriptions. Suppose Apple sells service contracts or Apple Care warranties. The system can manage those agreements over time, periodically billing the customer. For distribution, if Apple was shipping pallets of products to a big retailer, SAP's SD would ensure the paperwork like delivery notes and export documents if shipping cross-border are generated. Essentially, the sales module is all about capturing revenue smoothly from the moment a customer says, I want to buy this, to getting the product in their hands and registering the sale in accounts. For a company with the scale of Apple, having an integrated sales system ensures that orders don't fall through the cracks, inventory is allocated correctly, and customers get their products as promised. It also provides sales analytics. Apple's sales managers can query SAP to see how many MacBook Pros sold today versus yesterday, or compare regional sales, because every order flows through this centralized process. Inventory management keeps track of stock quantities and values across the company's storage locations. Warehouse management in advanced form, extended warehouse management, or basic stock room management in simpler form handles the detailed operations inside a warehouse, bins, picking, packing. These functions are tightly tied to procurement, manufacturing, and sales because those processes all create inventory movements, goods receipts, goods issues, stock transfers, and so on. Picture the moment when a batch of completed MacBook units comes off the production line. Inventory management in SAP will record a goods receipt of X number of MacBooks into Apple's finished goods stock. Now they are available to fulfill orders. If these MacBooks are in a factory warehouse but need to go to a central distribution center, a stock transfer order can be made in SAP to move that inventory, and SAP will expect a goods issue from the factory and a goods receipt at the distribution center. Inside a large Apple distribution hub, maybe one that serves all of North America for online orders, warehouse management functions guide efficient handling. Workers might use handheld devices connected to SAP that tell them, store these MacBooks in aisle 5, bin B3 upon arrival, then later, pick 2 MacBooks from aisle 5, bin B3 to fulfill order number 12345. SAP ensures that as inventory moves, all transactions are recorded, so Apple knows exactly how many units are where at all times. Inventory valuation is part of this too. Apple's finance module will assign values to the inventory, which is important for financial statements. SAP can use methods like FIFO or moving average price to value the stock of, say, A14 Bionic chips Apple holds. For Apple, having tight inventory control means they can avoid overstocking, which ties up cash and risks obsolescence, especially in fast tech cycles, and avoid stockouts, which mean lost sales. They can also do cycle counts. SAP can schedule periodic counting of certain bins to ensure the physical count matches the system. This is crucial for accuracy. When Apple plans a new product launch, knowing inventory levels of existing products helps decide when to ramp down production of the old model in favor of the new one. All these decisions rely on accurate inventory data, and that's exactly what this module provides. In short, inventory and warehouse management in SAP S/4HANA Cloud acts as the eyes and ears on where Apple's products and materials are in the real world. Enterprise Asset Management EM module, often just called plant maintenance in older terms, is about managing the life cycle and maintenance of physical assets, machines, equipment, vehicles, and so on. It helps schedule maintenance, manage repairs, and track asset performance and costs. Think about Apple's facilities, from the machinery on an assembly line that helps build iPhones to the HVAC systems in their data centers, or even the robotic arms used in Apple's product calibration or testing labs. All these are assets that require maintenance. With SAP's Asset Management module, Apple can keep a digital log of each machine. For example, consider a high-precision CNC machine that mills the aluminum bodies for MacBooks. SAP can track its maintenance schedule. Perhaps the manufacturer recommends servicing after every 10,000 units produced or every 6 months. The system can automatically create a maintenance work order when a checkup is due, assign it to a technician, reserve spare parts needed like replacement blades or lubricants from inventory, and document the work done. If a machine breaks down unexpectedly, a maintenance request can be logged in SAP, capturing the issue and initiating a repair process. This module also ties into procurement because if a spare part is needed and not in stock, it can trigger a purchase. It ties to finance by logging maintenance costs and possibly calculating depreciation of assets. For Apple, using SAP EM means less downtime in production. Since equipment is properly maintained, there are fewer surprise breakdowns, delaying airports' output, for instance. It also means a longer lifespan for expensive machines, saving money, and the ability to analyze data. For example, SAP can report if a particular robot arm tends to fail more often than others, indicating maybe a quality issue or need for an upgrade. Imagine Apple's big campus in Cupertino, Apple Park. Even building facilities management can be aided by SAP. The module could schedule elevator inspections, track the status of the solar panels on the roof, and so on. All of this ensures Apple's physical operations infrastructure is reliable and efficient. In sum, asset management might not be as glamorous as making products or selling them, but it's crucial behind the scenes. SAP S/4HANA Cloud provides Apple a central way to manage these activities, ensuring that the tools that build the iPhones are kept in top shape, just as the iPhones themselves are. S/4HANA has functionality and related products for product lifecycle management (PLM) and project management, which fall under R&D engineering. This supports designing new products, managing product data like BOMs, bill of materials, which list components of a product, and tracking projects like R&D projects or new product introduction projects. Every year, Apple designs new or improved products, new iPhones, Macs, accessories. The process from initial idea to production is complex. SAP's PLM capabilities can store the bill of materials for each product. For instance, the BOM for an iPhone might list one display, one battery, two cameras, one chassis, one logic board, screws, and so on. Managing this in SAP means when Apple makes an engineering change, say a new version of AirPods switches to a different Bluetooth chip, updating the BOM in one place cascades that information to procurement so they buy the right new chip, and manufacturing so they know to use the new chip. SAP can manage versions of BOMs and ensure that after a certain date, only the new version is in use. Additionally, project management features in SAP could help Apple plan the timeline of new product development with stages like design, prototype, testing, approval, and release, including cost tracking. Apple might also need to track compliance, ensuring components meet environmental regulations like RoHS or that they aren't using any banned substances. PLM can store compliance data for materials. When transitioning a product from design to manufacturing, SAP ensures a smooth handover. The procurement team already has the component list from the BOM to start sourcing, and production planners know the exact structure of the product to plan assembly steps. Another aspect is portfolio management. Apple has a portfolio of many projects. SAP can help prioritize and align them with strategic goals. Although many companies use specialized PLM software, S/4HANA's integration can cover fundamental needs. By using SAP for R&D data, Apple creates a single source of truth for product information. For example, if someone in Apple's marketing asks, how many of component X do we need for the first 1 million units of the new iPad? They can query SAP's data rather than chasing engineers for spreadsheets. This increases coordination between design, engineering, and production departments. Ultimately, the R&D and engineering capabilities in S/4HANA Cloud help bridge the gap between product concept and reality, making sure that the brilliant ideas of Apple's designers are accurately translated into manufacturing plans and procurement requirements. SAP S/4HANA has some core HR, human capital management functionalities, though SAP also offers a separate product, SuccessFactors, for full cloud HR. In S/4HANA Cloud, you can maintain organizational structures, employee data for processes like approvals, security roles, time management, and integrate with payroll. For Apple to run its business, it also needs to manage its thousands of employees, from retail staff to engineers. While Apple might use a dedicated HR system, the integration with SAP S/4HANA Cloud is important. Basic employee info like names, positions, and managers might reside in S4 for use in workflows. For example, when a purchase order needs approval, SAP knows who the manager is to send it to based on the HR organizational structure. If an Apple engineer records time spent on a project, say developing a new chip that could be captured and linked to project costing in SAP. If we consider manufacturing and maintenance, having employee records in SAP means Apple can schedule shifts, track who worked on which production order, or ensure only certified technicians perform certain equipment maintenance. The technician's qualifications can be recorded. For payroll or advanced talent management, Apple might use SuccessFactors, SAP's cloud HR suite, which would then integrate with S/4HANA for financial postings like salary expenses and other needs. It's worth noting that at a beginner level, the key understanding is the HR module deals with people-related data and processes. In Apple's context, think of things like hiring approval processes. SAP could handle some parts, like creating a new position in the org chart or tracking company assets issued to employees, such as a MacBook given to a new hire, which also touches asset management, or managing travel and expenses, where employees enter expenses that later get reimbursed and recorded in finance. All these require a foundation of HR data. In summary, while SAP S/4HANA Cloud's core strength is in operational and financial modules, HR data is the glue that often connects to those modules, because behind every process there are people, employees approving, performing tasks, or incurring costs. For Apple, maintaining accurate HR information in or connected to SAP means smoother operations. The system knows the organization. For instance, if the VP of supply chain in the HR org is replaced, updating that in HR data ensures all purchase requisition approvals automatically route to the new person without manual reconfiguration. Analytics and reporting isn't a module per se, but SAP S/4HANA Cloud comes with embedded analytics capabilities. It can generate real-time reports, dashboards, and KPI monitors using live data. Additionally, it can integrate with SAP Analytics Cloud for advanced analysis and visualization. Imagine the CEO of Apple or a VP of operations wants a dashboard showing key metrics: iPhones sold today, revenue by region, production output versus target, inventory levels of critical components, and so on. SAP's analytics can provide this in real time because all the modules we described feed data into one system. So, as soon as an iPhone is sold, sales module, inventory is updated, inventory module, and financials are booked, finance module. An analytical tile or chart can instantly reflect that. Apple's managers don't have to wait for an overnight batch job to see updated numbers. They can use Fiori analytical apps or create reports that slice and dice the data. For example, they can compare last week's airport sales to this week's across different countries. Another example, Apple's finance team at quarter end can use SAP to run a profitability analysis report by product, seeing which product lines exceeded profit expectations and which fell short. Because controlling data and finance data are in the system, these reports are one click away, no exporting to spreadsheets needed. For operational folks, analytics might mean getting alerts. For instance, SAP can be set to flag if a certain component stock falls below a threshold and notify the supply planner. Or in manufacturing, an analytic could show yield rates, how many units passed quality versus how many failed, in real time. For Apple, which deals with huge volumes of data, imagine every Apple Store transaction worldwide feeding in, the power of SAP HANA's in-memory database shines. It can crunch numbers very quickly for analysis. Apple can also forecast and simulate scenarios to an extent within the system. For example, if MacBook sales continue at this pace, will we run out of a certain component? This can be analyzed using current stock, planned deliveries, and sales velocity. The integrated analytics ensure that employees at Apple have the insights they need right at their fingertips, embedded in the same system where they execute transactions. This supports faster and more informed decision making. Instead of operating blindly or off stale data, Apple's teams can be proactive, shifting resources, adjusting plans, or capitalizing on opportunities based on what the data tells them live from SAP S/4HANA Cloud. It's important to note that while we discussed each module separately, they are deeply interconnected in SAP S/4HANA Cloud. This integration is one of SAP's greatest strengths. It breaks the silos between departments. Let's illustrate this with a simple Apple scenario. Apple is preparing to ship a batch of new MacBook Pros to its European distribution center. The manufacturing module confirms the production of 5,000 MacBook Pros in the factory. Production order finished. This automatically updates inventory management. 5,000 units of MacBook Pro now in finished goods stock. The quality component part of manufacturing might have ensured each unit was tested. Only then were they marked as good stock. Now a stock transfer order, supply chain, is created to move those 5,000 units to Europe. The warehouse module at the factory kicks in to pick and dispatch those units. When the goods leave, a goods issue is posted, reducing inventory at the factory and in transit. At the same time, the finance module records a change, perhaps moving the value from one inventory account to another, or noting that goods are in transit, depending on how Apple's accounting is set. A delivery document, sales distribution module, might be used if this is an intercompany shipment, factory to Apple's sales entity in Europe, so it uses sales processes even for internal trade. This would generate an internal invoice for transfer pricing that finance records. Upon arrival in Europe, warehouse management there will receive the goods, updating inventory again. Now MacBook Pros are available in the European warehouse. Customers in Europe place orders, sales module for MacBook Pros, which now can be fulfilled from that stock. The sales order ties to a delivery from that warehouse, triggers the picking warehouse, ships the product inventory out, and billing finance posts revenue. All the while, Apple's planners are watching an analytics dashboard that shows global inventory and sales. If Europe's stock gets below a threshold because sales are booming, the system might signal to produce or transfer more. This chain shows modules working hand in hand, a seamless flow from manufacturing to inventory to sales to finance. If any link was a separate system, you would need interfaces and might face delays or data mismatches. In SAP S/4HANA Cloud, it's all one unified system. For Apple, that means if a customer buys an iPad, the inventory is instantly updated and financials are recorded accurately. No waiting, no manual reconciliation. Integration also means consistency. Apple's product data, like product codes, descriptions, BOMs, is defined once and used everywhere. Customer data. Apple has many corporate customers, universities, and so on, is stored once and used for orders, invoices, payments, rather than separate lists in each department. In practice, when implementing S/4HANA Cloud for Apple or any company, you'd configure each module to fit Apple's processes. But because Apple will adapt to many standard best practices, especially in a cloud scenario, the modules already are designed to work together out of the box. It's like different sections of an orchestra playing in harmony. In this comprehensive tour of SAP S/4HANA Cloud's core modules, we saw how each piece of the ERP puzzle supports a crucial part of running a business, and specifically how they would support Apple's diverse operations. Let's recap the key modules and insights. Finance, FICO, the financial nerve center handling accounting, reporting, and controlling. It ensures Apple's financial health is tracked, revenues, costs, profit, and provides insights like product profitability. Procurement, manages Apple's purchasing of materials and services, keeping production fed with components and stores stocked with products, all while maintaining supplier relationships and controlling costs. Manufacturing, PP, plans and executes production of Apple devices, making sure Apple can meet demand with the efficient use of factories and maintains quality in every Mac, iPhone, or AirPods that rolls out. Supply chain and inventory oversees the flow and storage of materials products worldwide, from factories to warehouses to Apple stores, so that the right products are in the right place at the right time. It prevents stockouts and reduces excess, optimizing Apple's massive logistics network. Sales SD facilitates the process of selling and delivering Apple products to customers, whether individuals or businesses, ensuring orders are fulfilled, customers are billed, and revenue is recognized. It's key to customer satisfaction and bringing cash into the company. Asset management, EAM, keeps Apple's own equipment from manufacturing machines to facilities in top shape, minimizing downtime and protecting the investments in those assets. R&D engineering, PLM, helps manage Apple's product designs and introductions, linking the engineering world with the operational world so new innovations flow smoothly into production and sales. Human resources, basic HR, supports the structure of Apple's workforce in the system, which underpins approvals, security, and certain employee-related processes that connect with SAP, though extended, HR is often handled by specialized systems. Analytics, embedded throughout, providing real-time insights and reports so Apple's leadership and teams can make informed decisions quickly based on one source of truth. A major takeaway is how integrated these modules are. In our Apple examples, you notice that an event in one area, like a sale or a production run, automatically cascades relevant info to others: inventory, finance, procurement needs, and so on. This integration means better coordination within Apple. The left hand always knows what the right hand is doing. For a company of Apple's size, this is critical. It reduces errors. Imagine the chaos if sales sold more units than manufacturing produced, or procurement bought wrong parts because of miscommunication. And increases speed. No waiting on nightly updates. Data flows in real time. By learning about each module, you also got a glimpse of the end-to-end process coverage of SAP S/4HANA Cloud. From planning to sourcing to making to delivering to accounting for everything, it's all in one system. This is why SAP is often called a business backbone or central nervous system of an enterprise. Take a moment to reflect on these questions. Which module do you think would be the most complex to implement at Apple, and why? Perhaps finance, because of Apple's global legal entities and currency dealings, or maybe supply chain, due to the scale of Apple's logistics, Which module interests you the most? If you're fascinated by how products are built, manufacturing might excite you. If you're into money and strategy, finance could be your focus. Also, consider how these modules need to talk to each other. What did you find surprising about the integration? For instance, were you aware that a simple customer order would trigger activities in so many parts of the system? By pondering these points, you'll reinforce your understanding that an ERP like SAP S/4HANA Cloud isn't just software, it's a model of a company's entire business. And in our case study of Apple, we saw how each part of that model helps run one of the world's most successful companies. In the next lesson, we'll get a first-hand look at the user interface, SAP Fiori Launchpad, that ties these modules together for the end user. You'll see how an Apple employee interacts with this powerful system in an intuitive way. Until then, keep in mind how each module we discussed would appear to that user as apps and data on their screen, all coming from the underlying structure we've just learned about.